The rain hammered against the glass walls of the penthouse terrace, each drop sounding like tiny stones thrown against the windows. Benjamin Cole stood frozen in his doorway, his keys still dangling from his hand, as he stared at the small figure huddled on his outdoor furniture. The child couldn't have been more than 5 years old, wearing a soaked pink dress that clung to her tiny frame. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she was shaking from the cold. But what stopped Benjamin's heart wasn't just finding a child on his private terrace 40 stories above the city. It was the way she looked up at him with eyes that somehow seemed familiar, eyes filled with a mix of hope and terror, and whispered the words that would change everything. "Daddy, sorry I am late." Benjamin's mind went blank. He had no children. He had never been married. He lived alone in this penthouse, had done so for the past 7 years since making his first billion in tech investments. His life was scheduled, controlled, predictable. There were no children in his world. No family beyond his elderly mother who lived 3 states away. No complications. And yet, this child sat on his terrace in the pouring rain calling him daddy. "I think you have the wrong person," Benjamin finally managed to say, but his voice came out hoarse and uncertain. He stepped onto the terrace, the rain immediately soaking through his expensive suit. The child flinched, pulling a small backpack closer to her chest. She was shivering so hard her teeth chattered. "You're Benjamin Cole," she said softly, her voice barely audible over the rain. "Mommy showed me pictures. She said you live here. She said you would help me." Benjamin's throat tightened. "Who is your mother?" The child reached into her backpack with trembling hands and pulled out a plastic bag. Inside was an envelope, relatively dry despite the weather. She held it out to him and Benjamin took it carefully. His name was written on the front in handwriting he didn't recognize, but something about the way the letters curved made his stomach drop. "Please read it," the girl whispered. "Mommy said you would understand after you read it." Benjamin looked down at the envelope, then back at the child. She was soaked, shaking, and clearly terrified. Whatever was in this letter could wait until she was safe and warm. He made a decision in that moment, one that went against every careful, controlled instinct he had. "Come inside," he said gently, crouching down to her level. "You need to get out of these wet clothes and warm up. Then we will talk about this, okay?" The child nodded slowly, and Benjamin noticed how her lower lip trembled. She was trying so hard to be brave and it broke something in his chest. He held out his hand and after a moment's hesitation she placed her small, cold hand in his. Inside the penthouse, Benjamin turned on all the lights. The space was modern and minimalist, all chrome and glass and white furniture. It had never been designed for children. He led the girl to his guest bathroom, grabbed a stack of clean towels, and realized he had nothing for her to wear. "Wait here," he told her, then rushed to his bedroom and found his smallest t-shirt. It would swallow her whole, but it was better than her wet dress. He brought it back to the bathroom. "You can change into this for now. Just leave your wet clothes on the floor. I will figure out something better." The child nodded but didn't move. She was staring at the marble bathroom, at the expensive fixtures, at everything that probably seemed like another world to her. "What is your name?" Benjamin asked softly. "Sophie," she whispered. "Sophie Torres." Torres. The name hit Benjamin like a physical blow. Rebecca Torres. He had dated a woman named Rebecca Torres 5 years ago, maybe 6. It had been brief, maybe 2 months. She had been sweet, kind, working as a waitress while trying to get through nursing school. He had been different then, less focused on business, more open to relationships. But then his company had taken off and he had gotten busy. They had drifted apart. He had moved on and he assumed she had too. "Did your mommy's name happen to be Rebecca?" Benjamin asked, already knowing the answer. Sophie nodded and tears started rolling down her cheeks. "She died 3 weeks ago. She got really sick." Benjamin felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. He leaned against the bathroom doorframe, trying to process what this child was telling him. Rebecca was dead. And this child, Sophie, claimed to be his daughter. "I am so sorry," he managed to say, and he meant it. Whatever had happened between him and Rebecca, she hadn't deserved to die young. "Where have you been staying since then?" "With Grandma Rosa," Sophie said. "But she fell down yesterday and the ambulance came. The hospital people said I had to go to a foster home. But Mommy gave me your address before she died. She said if anything happened I should find you. She said you would keep me safe." Benjamin ran his hand through his wet hair. This was impossible. This couldn't be happening. But the child in front of him was real, was cold and scared and alone. Whatever the truth was, it could wait until morning. Right now she needed care. "Okay, Sophie," he said, keeping his voice calm even though his heart was racing. Let's get you warm and dry first. Then we will have some food and then we will figure everything out. Does that sound good? Sophie nodded and Benjamin left her to change. He went to the kitchen and stared at his empty refrigerator. He had a chef who came 3 times a week to prep meals, but today wasn't one of those days. All he had were some eggs, bread and orange juice. He could make scrambled eggs and toast. That was child appropriate, right? His hands shook as he cracked the eggs into a bowl. This couldn't be real. Sophie couldn't be his daughter. He would have known. Rebecca would have told him. They would have figured something out together. But even as he thought this, he remembered how things had ended between them. He had been so focused on his business that he had stopped returning her calls. Had stopped making time for her. She had eventually stopped trying to reach him and he had been relieved at the time. It had made things simpler. What if she had been trying to tell him she was pregnant? What if he had been too busy, too focused on success to notice? Sophie emerged from the bathroom wearing his t-shirt, which hung down to her knees like a dress. She had towel-dried her hair as best she could, and she looked so small and lost in his massive penthouse. She was clutching the plastic bag with the envelope, her backpack on her shoulders again. "You can put your bag down," Benjamin said gently. "You are safe here." Sophie set the bag down carefully but kept the envelope. She climbed onto one of the bar stools at the kitchen counter, her feet dangling far above the floor. Benjamin served her the scrambled eggs and toast, poured her a glass of orange juice, and watched as she ate slowly, methodically, like someone who had learned not to waste food. When she finished, she pushed the envelope across the counter to him. "Mommy said this would explain everything," Sophie said quietly. "She said you might not believe me at first. But she said you were a good person, and that you would do the right thing once you knew." Benjamin picked up the envelope with shaking hands. He looked at Sophie, at this child who might be his daughter, and felt his carefully controlled world beginning to crack apart. He opened the envelope and pulled out several sheets of paper. The first was a letter in the same handwriting as the envelope. The second appeared to be a birth certificate. The third was a photo of Rebecca, smiling at the camera, holding a newborn baby. He began to read. "Dear Benjamin, if you are reading this, then I am gone and Sophie has found you. I'm so sorry it had to be this way. I wanted to tell you about her so many times over the years, but I was scared. Scared you wouldn't believe me. Scared you would think I was trying to trap you or get your money. Scared you would take her away from me. So I stayed quiet and raised her on my own. Sophie is your daughter. She was born 9 months after we stopped seeing each other. I found out I was pregnant a week after you stopped returning my calls. I tried to reach you one more time, but your assistant said you were too busy for personal matters. I took it as a sign that you had moved on, and I decided not to burden you with news you clearly didn't want. I never regretted having Sophie. She has been the light of my life, the best thing that ever happened to me. But I got sick 6 months ago. Cancer. The doctors tried everything but it spread too fast. I am writing this letter while I still have the strength to make sure Sophie will be okay. My mother is elderly and not well enough to raise a child. I have no siblings, no other family who can take care of her. You are her father, Benjamin. And I am asking you, begging you to please take care of our daughter. She is smart and kind and brave. She deserves a good life. She deserves to know her father. I have included her birth certificate. Your name is not on it because I was scared and proud and stupid. But I have also included information for a DNA test if you need proof. Sophie knows about you. I have told her stories, shown her pictures. She knows you are her daddy even if you never knew about her. Please don't be angry with me for keeping this secret. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was protecting her. But now I am out of time, and I need to trust that the man I once knew, the kind man who made me laugh and treated me with respect, will do right by his daughter. Take care of her, Benjamin. Love her. Give her the life I couldn't. With hope and regret, Rebecca Terrace. Benjamin read the letter 3 times, his vision blurring with tears he refused to let fall. He looked at the birth certificate. Sophie Rebecca Terrace, born exactly 9 months and 2 weeks after he had last seen Rebecca. Mother, Rebecca and Terrace. Father, unknown. He looked at the photo of Rebecca holding a newborn Sophie and he could see it now. The shape of Sophie's eyes, the curve of her chin, the way she held herself. She looked like him. She had his eyes. Mommy said you would be surprised, Sophie said quietly, breaking the silence. She said you didn't know about me. She said it wasn't your fault. Benjamin set the papers down and looked at this child, this daughter he never knew existed. He thought about Rebecca, alone and pregnant, trying to reach him while he ignored her calls because he was too focused on building his empire. He thought about all the years Sophie had lived without a father because he had been too busy to answer the phone. Sophie, he said, his voice rough with emotion. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. If I had known, I would have been there. I would have helped. I would have been your daddy from the start. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. Are you my daddy now? Benjamin felt something shift inside him, something fundamental and permanent. Whatever tests needed to be done, whatever legal processes had to be followed, this child was his. He knew it in his bones. And she needed him. Yes, he said firmly. I am your daddy. And I am going to take care of you. You are not alone anymore, Sophie. You are home. Sophie burst into tears, then real sobs that shook her small body. Benjamin came around the counter and picked her up, holding her close as she cried into his shoulder. He had no idea what he was doing. He had no experience with children. He was probably the worst possible person to be a single father. But he would figure it out. He would get help. He would do whatever it took. Because this little girl on his terrace, soaked and scared and brave, was his daughter. And he would never let her feel alone again. Have you ever wondered what you would do if your entire life changed in a single moment? If someone showed up at your door and revealed a truth that shattered everything you thought you knew? Would you run from that responsibility, or would you embrace it with an open heart? Drop a comment below and tell me what you think Benjamin should do next. And if this story is already pulling at your heartstrings, hit that subscribe button because Sophie and Benjamin's journey is just beginning, and you will not want to miss what happens when love and responsibility collide in the most unexpected way. Morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Benjamin's penthouse, painting everything in shades of gold and white. He hadn't slept. He had spent the night sitting in a chair next to the guest bed where Sophie finally fell asleep around midnight, exhausted from crying. He had watched her small chest rise and fall, still unable to fully believe this was real. His phone had 17 missed calls from his office and 43 unread emails. For the first time in his career, Benjamin didn't care. He had sent a single text to his assistant at 3 a.m. Cancel everything for the next 2 weeks. Family emergency. We'll explain later. Now, as sunlight filled the room, Sophie stirred and opened her eyes. For a moment she looked confused, then scared, then she saw Benjamin sitting there and relaxed slightly. You stayed, she whispered. Of course I stayed, Benjamin said gently. I told you that you are safe here and I meant it. Sophie sat up, and Benjamin noticed her clothes from yesterday were still damp in the bathroom. He needed to get her proper clothes, proper supplies, everything a child needed. But first they needed to talk about next steps. Sophie, I need to ask you some questions about what happened after your mom died. Is that okay? Sophie nodded, pulling her knees up to her chest. You said you were staying with your grandma Rosa. What is her full name? And which hospital is she in? Rosa Maria Torres, Sophie said. She is at St. Catherine's Hospital. The doctors said she had a stroke. She couldn't talk right and her face looked funny. The social worker lady said I couldn't stay there anymore. Benjamin pulled out his phone and made a note. Do you remember the social worker's name? Sophie thought hard. Miss Washington. She had pretty braids and a kind smile. She said she would come back to check on Grandma, and that is when I ran away. You ran away from the hospital? Sophie nodded, looking guilty. I heard them talking about foster care and how they needed to find me a placement. But Mommy made me promise that if anything happened, I would find you. She gave me your address and enough money for a taxi. I waited until Miss Washington was talking to the doctors, and then I left. Benjamin felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, Sophie had put herself in danger by running away. On the other hand, she had been brave enough and determined enough to find him. A 5-year-old had navigated a city alone to keep her promise to her mother. That was very brave, Benjamin said carefully, but also very dangerous. You could have been hurt. Next time something scary happens, I need you to trust that the adults around you are trying to help, okay? But they didn't know about you, Sophie said. They didn't know I had a daddy. The word hit Benjamin hard every time she said it. Daddy. He was someone's daddy now. Well, they know now, Benjamin said. And we need to let Miss Washington know you are safe. She is probably very worried about you. Before Sophie could respond, the doorbell rang. Benjamin froze. He wasn't expecting anyone, and his doorman always called before sending anyone up. He stood and moved toward the door, gesturing for Sophie to stay in the bedroom. Through the peephole, he saw a tall African-American woman with long braids pulled back in a ponytail. She wore professional clothes, a blue blazer and dark pants, and carried a leather bag over her shoulder. She looked tired and worried. Benjamin opened the door cautiously. Can I help you? He asked. The woman's eyes widened slightly. Are you Benjamin Cole? I am. Thank God, she breathed. My name is Imani Washington. I am a social worker with Child Protective Services. I have been looking for Sophie Torres all night. Your doorman finally confirmed she came here yesterday evening. Is she here? Is she safe? Benjamin felt relief wash over him. This was the woman Sophie had mentioned, the one who had been trying to help. She is here and she is safe, Benjamin said. Please come in. Imani stepped into the penthouse, her professional demeanor cracking slightly as she looked around the expensive space. Then she saw Sophie peeking out from the bedroom doorway, and her face softened with relief. Sophie, Imani said gently. I'm so glad you are okay. We have been searching everywhere for you. I am sorry, Sophie said quietly. But I had to find my daddy. Imani looked between Benjamin and Sophie, confusion clear on her face. Your daddy? Sophie, what are you talking about? Your file says your father is unknown. Benjamin held up the letter and birth certificate. This is going to sound strange, but I just found out last night that Sophie is my daughter. Her mother, Rebecca, and I dated about 6 years ago. She never told me she was pregnant. But she left this letter for Sophie, explaining everything. She asked Sophie to find me if anything happened to her. Imani took the papers and read them carefully, her expression shifting from confusion to understanding to concern. When she finished, she looked at Benjamin with a mixture of respect and worry. This is a very unusual situation, she said carefully. I believe you are telling the truth and I believe Sophie believes you are her father. But legally, we need to verify paternity before I can leave her in your care. The state has protocols for this kind of situation. I understand, Benjamin said. I want to do a DNA test immediately. Whatever it takes to make this official and legal. Sophie is my daughter, and I am not going to let her go into the foster system when she has a father who can care for her. Imani studied him carefully. Mr. Cole, being a parent is not just about DNA or money. It is about time, attention, consistency. Sophie has been through trauma. She has lost her mother and her grandmother is critically ill. She needs stability and emotional support. Are you prepared for that? No, Benjamin admitted honestly. I have no idea what I am doing. I have never been a parent before. But I am going to figure it out. I am going to get help, whatever help I need, to be the father Sophie deserves. Something in his voice must have convinced Imani because she nodded slowly. All right. I can arrange an emergency paternity test today. Until we get the results, I am going to need to place Sophie in temporary kinship care, which means she can stay with you as long as I do regular check-ins and you agree to certain conditions. Anything, Benjamin said immediately. First, I need you to understand that if the test comes back negative, Sophie will need to enter the foster system. Second, you will need to work with me to create a proper home environment for a child. That means child-proofing, getting appropriate clothing and supplies, enrolling her in school and establishing routines. Third, you will need to undergo a background check and home study. And fourth, I will be visiting regularly to make sure Sophie is adjusting well. I agree to all of that, Benjamin said without hesitation. Whatever you need, whatever Sophie needs, I will do it. Imani's expression softened. You seem sincere, Mr. Cole. And Sophie clearly feels safe with you. So let's start with the paternity test. I can have a mobile lab come here within the hour. In the meantime, I need to talk to Sophie privately and make sure she is okay. Is there somewhere we can sit? Benjamin showed them to the living room and went to make coffee, giving them space to talk. He could hear Imani's gentle voice asking Sophie questions and Sophie's soft answers. After about 15 minutes, Imani called him back in. Sophie has confirmed everything you told me, Imani said. She seems very certain that you are her father and more importantly, she feels safe here. So here is what is going to happen. I'm going to call the lab and get the paternity test set up. Results can be expedited and should be back in 24 to 48 hours. During that time, Sophie can stay here with you under temporary kinship care. I will visit tomorrow to check on things and start the home study process. Thank you, Benjamin said, meaning it deeply. Thank you for being flexible and understanding. This is what is best for Sophie, Imani said simply. But Mr. Cole, I need you to understand something. If those test results come back positive, your life is going to change completely. You cannot just hire a nanny and go back to your normal routine. Sophie needs a parent, not a babysitter. She needs someone who will be there for school plays and skin knees and bad dreams. Are you truly ready for that? Benjamin looked at Sophie, who was watching him with those eyes that were so much like his own. He thought about Rebecca, raising their daughter alone because he had been too busy to answer the phone. He thought about all the years he had missed, all the moments he would never get back. I am ready, he said firmly. And I am going to need help learning how to do this right. Would you be willing to help me? To teach me what Sophie needs, how to create a good home for her. Imani looked surprised. That is not usually part of my job description. Please, Benjamin said. I will pay you for your time whatever rate you want. But Sophie trusts you, and I can see that you genuinely care about her well-being. I don't want to mess this up because I don't know what I am doing. Imani was quiet for a long moment, studying both of them. Finally she nodded. All right, she said. I will help you, not for the money but because Sophie deserves the best possible chance at a good life. But you need to listen to me and actually implement what I teach you. Deal? Deal? Benjamin said, holding out his hand. Imani shook it, her grip firm and professional. The DNA test technician arrived an hour later. The process was quick and painless, just a swab inside Benjamin's cheek and one inside Sophie's. The technician promised to rush the results and have them within 48 hours. After the technician left, Imani spent another 2 hours with Benjamin, making lists of everything Sophie would need. Clothes, toiletries, school supplies, toys, books. A proper bed and bedding. Child-safe dishes and cups. A booster seat for meals. The list seemed endless and Benjamin wrote down everything. Today you need to take her shopping, Imani said. Let her pick out some clothes and things that make her feel comfortable. Children need to feel like they have some control over their environment, especially after trauma. Ask her what colors she likes, what kinds of toys she enjoys. Make her feel heard and valued. Okay, Benjamin said, making notes. What about school? We will worry about school enrollment after the DNA results come back, Imani said. For now, just focus on making this place feel like home for her. And Mr. Cole? Talk to her. Ask her about her mother, about her memories. She needs to process her grief and she needs to know it is okay to talk about Rebecca. Benjamin nodded, feeling overwhelmed but determined. After Imani left with promises to return the next day, Benjamin turned to Sophie. Ready to go shopping? He asked. Sophie looked nervous. I don't have any money. Sophie, you don't need money. I am your daddy, and it is my job to make sure you have everything you need. That is what parents do. They took a car service to a large department store. Benjamin had never shopped for children's clothes before and had no idea where to start. But Sophie, once she realized she could actually pick things out, became more animated than he had seen her. I like blue, she said, holding up a blue dress with white flowers. And red. Mommy always said bright colors made the world happier. Benjamin's throat tightened at the mention of Rebecca, but he smiled. Then let's get you lots of bright colors. What else do you like? They filled 2 shopping carts with clothes, shoes, pajamas, and a winter coat. Sophie picked out a stuffed bear that she clutched tight to her chest. They got art supplies, books, and a small backpack for school. Benjamin let her choose everything, watching as she carefully considered each item as though afraid it might disappear. At the bedding section, Sophie stopped in front of a comforter set with stars and moons on a deep blue background. Can I have this one? She asked quietly. Of course, Benjamin said. Do you like stars? Sophie nodded. Mommy and I used to look at the stars from our apartment window. She said that even when we couldn't see each other, we would always be looking at the same stars. Benjamin crouched down to her level. Your mommy sounds like she was very special. She was, Sophie whispered, tears filling her eyes. I miss her so much. I know you do, Benjamin said softly. And it is okay to miss her. It is okay to be sad. But I promise you, Sophie, that I am going to take care of you. I am going to be the daddy your mommy wanted me to be. Sophie hugged him then, a fierce tight hug that squeezed Benjamin's heart. He held her in the middle of the bedding aisle, not caring who was watching, and made a silent promise to Rebecca that he would keep their daughter safe and loved. When they got home, Benjamin spent the afternoon setting up Sophie's room. He assembled the new bed, put on the star and moon sheets, and arranged her new stuffed animals. Sophie helped, organizing her clothes in the dresser drawers with careful precision. That night they ordered pizza for dinner. Sophie had 3 slices and 2 glasses of milk. After dinner, Benjamin ran her a bath and realized he had no idea how to help a 5-year-old girl with her bath. He called out to ask if she needed help, and Sophie told him she could do it herself, but could he stay close in case she needed him. He sat outside the bathroom door, listening to the splash of water, marveling at how his life had completely changed in less than 24 hours. When Sophie was clean and in her new pajamas, bright green with cartoon stars, Benjamin tucked her into her new bed. He had no idea if he was doing this right, but he tried his best. Are you comfortable? He asked. Sophie nodded, hugging her new bear. Can I tell you something? Benjamin said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Okay. I am really glad you found me, Sophie. I am sorry I wasn't there before, but I am here now. And I promise I am going to do my best to be a good daddy. Mommy said you were a good person, Sophie said sleepily. She said you would love me if you knew about me. Your mommy was right, Benjamin said, his voice thick with emotion. I already love you, Sophie. You are my daughter, and nothing is going to change that. Sophie's eyes were drooping closed. I am not late anymore? Benjamin remembered her words from the terrace. No, sweetheart. You are not late. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. As Sophie fell asleep, Benjamin sat there watching her breathe, wondering how one little girl could have turned his entire world upside down in a single night. His phone buzzed with messages from his office, but he silenced it. Those could wait. Everything could wait. His daughter was home, and he was going to make sure she never felt alone again. The next morning, Benjamin woke to the smell of something burning. He bolted out of bed and ran to the kitchen, where Sophie stood on a chair in front of the stove trying to scramble eggs. The pan was smoking, the eggs were black, and Sophie looked close to tears. Hey, it's okay, Benjamin said quickly, turning off the stove and moving the pan to a cool burner. What are you doing? I wanted to make breakfast, Sophie said, her voice small. Mommy always said we should be helpful. I didn't want you to have to do everything. Benjamin felt his heart break a little. This 5-year-old child was trying to take care of him when she should be the one being taken care of. Sophie, that is very kind of you, Benjamin said gently, helping her down from the chair. But making breakfast is my job. Your job is to be a kid, okay? To play and learn and have fun. You don't need to take care of me. But what if you get tired of me? Sophie whispered. What if I am too much work and you decide you don't want me anymore? Benjamin knelt down so he was eye level with her. Listen to me very carefully, Sophie. I'm never going to get tired of you. I'm never going to decide I don't want you. You are my daughter, and that means I will always want you no matter what. Even when things are hard, even when I don't know what I am doing, I will always choose you. Do you understand? Sophie nodded slowly, but Benjamin could see she didn't quite believe him yet. That was okay. He would prove it to her day by day until she knew it was true. They had cereal for breakfast, and Benjamin made a mental note to learn how to cook child-friendly meals. They were halfway through their second bowls when the doorbell rang. It was Imani arriving for her first check-in. She walked through the apartment, taking notes on her tablet. She checked Sophie's room, the safety measures Benjamin had put in place, the food in the refrigerator. She asked Sophie questions about how she slept and if she felt safe. Then she sat down with Benjamin while Sophie watched cartoons in the living room. You did well with the room setup, Imani said. Sophie seems comfortable. But I notice you are out of your depth with the daily routines. That is normal for a new parent, but we need to address it quickly. Tell me what to do, Benjamin said. I will do whatever it takes. Imani spent the next 3 hours teaching him the basics. Meal planning for a child. Creating a bedtime routine. How to talk to Sophie about her feelings. How to handle tantrums or difficult moments. Benjamin took notes on everything, asking questions when he didn't understand. You are taking this very seriously, Imani observed. Most people in your position would just hire a nanny. I don't want to hire someone else to raise my daughter, Benjamin said. I want to be her parent. That means I need to learn how to actually do the work. Imani nodded approvingly. Good. Because Sophie doesn't need money or things. She needs you. Your time, your attention, your presence. Children who have experienced loss need consistency and reliability more than anything. Over the next 48 hours as they waited for the DNA results, Benjamin threw himself into learning how to be a father. Imani came every day teaching him new skills and checking on Sophie's adjustment. Sophie slowly began to relax, though she still seemed cautious, as though waiting for something bad to happen. On the second evening, Sophie had a nightmare. Benjamin heard her crying and rushed to her room. She was sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face, calling for her mother. Sophie, I'm here, Benjamin said softly, sitting on the edge of her bed. You're safe. I dreamed Mommy was calling me, Sophie sobbed. But I couldn't find her. She kept getting further away. Benjamin didn't know what to say, so he just held her. After a while, her sobs turned to hiccups, and she rested her head against his shoulder. Can you tell me about your mommy? Benjamin asked gently. What was she like? Sophie was quiet for a moment, then she started talking. She told him about Rebecca's laugh, about how she sang while cooking dinner, about how they would have dance parties in their small apartment, about how Rebecca worked 2 jobs but always made time to read bedtime stories, about how, even when Rebecca got sick, she tried to keep things normal and happy for as long as possible. Benjamin listened to every word, his heart aching for the woman he had known so briefly but who had raised their daughter with such love. He ached for Sophie, who had lost someone so important. And he ached for himself for all the years he had missed with both of them. "Your mommy sounds like she was amazing," Benjamin said when Sophie finished. "And I promise you, Sophie, that we will always remember her. We will talk about her whenever you want. We will keep her memory alive. She will always be part of our family." "Really?" Sophie asked, looking up at him with red, puffy eyes. "Really?" Benjamin confirmed. "Because she gave me the greatest gift in the world. She gave me you." On the morning of the third day, Benjamin's phone rang with a call from the testing lab. His heart pounded as he answered. "Mr. Cole, this is Dr. Martinez from Gen Lab. I have your paternity test results." "And?" Benjamin asked, his throat tight. "The test confirms with 99.9% certainty that you are the biological father of Sophie Torres." "Congratulations, Mr. Cole." Benjamin sat down heavily on the couch, relief and joy and terror washing over him all at once. It was real. Sophie was his daughter. This wasn't some misunderstanding or mistake. She was his. "Thank you," he managed to say. "Can you send the official results to Imani Washington at Child Protective Services?" "Already done, sir. Best wishes to you and your daughter." Benjamin hung up and turned to find Sophie standing in the doorway, watching him with nervous eyes. "Was that about the test?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Benjamin said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Sophie, the test confirms that I am your daddy. You are my daughter." Sophie's face crumpled and she ran to him. Benjamin caught her and held her tight, both of them crying tears of relief and joy. "I was so scared," Sophie whispered. "I was scared you weren't really my daddy and I would have to leave." "You never have to leave," Benjamin said firmly. "You are home now. This is your home and I am your daddy and nothing is going to change that." An hour later, Imani arrived with official papers. The test results had been verified, and the court had granted Benjamin temporary custody pending the completion of the home study and background check. "This is good news," Imani said, smiling at both of them. "But Mr. Cole, we still have work to do. The home study will take about 4 weeks. During that time, I will continue to visit regularly. You will need to complete some parenting classes, and we will need to finalize the legal paperwork to establish your parental rights." "Whatever it takes," Benjamin said. "I will do it all." "I know you will," Imani said. Then she turned to Sophie. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" "Happy," Sophie said, then her face fell. "But also sad. I wish Mommy could be here." "I know," Imani said gently. "It is okay to feel both things at once. You can be happy to have found your daddy and sad that your mommy is gone. Both feelings are real and both are okay." After Imani left, Benjamin sat down with Sophie to talk about next steps. "We need to get you enrolled in school," he said. "Would you like that?" Sophie nodded. "I like school. I liked my old school before Mommy got sick. Then we will find you a great school here. And we need to think about other things too. Would you like to join any activities? Sports or art classes or anything else?" Sophie thought carefully. "I liked art class at my old school. Can I do that?" "Of course," Benjamin said. "We will find you the best art classes in the city." Over the next few weeks, Benjamin's life transformed completely. He cut his work hours in half, leaving the office by 3 p.m. every day to be home when Sophie got back from her new school. He learned to braid hair, though his first attempts were terrible and Sophie giggled at the lopsided results. He learned to cook simple meals that Sophie would actually eat. He learned to check homework and read bedtime stories with different voices for each character. Imani came 3 times a week, checking on their progress and teaching Benjamin new parenting skills. She helped him navigate conversations about grief and loss. She taught him how to set appropriate boundaries while still being loving. She showed him how to create a structure that would help Sophie feel secure. And somewhere during those weeks, Benjamin noticed that he looked forward to Imani's visits not just because she was helping him be a better father, but because he enjoyed her company. She was smart and funny, with a warmth that made everyone around her feel comfortable. Sophie clearly adored her, always lighting up when Imani arrived. One evening, after Sophie had gone to bed, Benjamin and Imani were sitting in the living room going over the week's progress. Imani had been showing him some new techniques for helping Sophie process her grief. "You are doing really well," Imani said, making notes on her tablet. "Sophie is adjusting better than I expected. She feels secure here. She trusts you." "That is because of you," Benjamin said honestly. "I would be completely lost without your help. I cannot thank you enough for everything you have done for us." Imani looked up from her tablet and their eyes met. There was a moment of connection, something warm and electric that made Benjamin's heart skip. "It is my job," Imani said softly, but there was something in her voice that suggested it had become more than that. "Is it just your job?" Benjamin asked carefully. "Or has it become something more?" Imani was quiet for a long moment. "I should not be having this conversation with you. You are a client." "The home study is almost complete," Benjamin pointed out. "In a week, the case will be closed and I will have full legal custody of Sophie. You won't be my caseworker anymore." "That is true," Imani admitted. "Then can I ask you something? Once this case is officially closed, would you consider having dinner with me? Not as my caseworker, but as someone I have come to care about very much." Imani smiled, a real genuine smile that lit up her whole face. "Ask me again in a week when the paperwork is done." "I will," Benjamin promised. As Imani left that night, Benjamin felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope for a future that included not just him and Sophie, but maybe, just maybe, someone else who could be part of their family. He checked on Sophie before going to bed. She was sleeping peacefully, her stuffed bear tucked under her arm. Benjamin kissed her forehead gently. "Good night, sweetheart," he whispered. "I love you." And for the first time in his life, Benjamin understood what it meant to put someone else first. To love someone so completely that their happiness mattered more than anything else. Sophie had given him that gift, and he was going to spend the rest of his life making sure she knew she was loved. The final home study visit happened on a sunny Tuesday morning. Imani arrived with another social worker, an older woman named Patricia who would be conducting the official assessment. They spent 3 hours reviewing everything, interviewing Benjamin, talking to Sophie, checking the apartment, and reviewing all the documentation. Sophie was nervous, holding on to Benjamin's hand throughout most of the interview. She answered Patricia's questions quietly but clearly, talking about school, her room, and how she felt living with her daddy. "Do you feel safe here, Sophie?" Patricia asked. "Yes," Sophie said firmly. "Daddy takes care of me. And Miss Imani helps us." "What do you like best about living here?" Sophie thought carefully. "Daddy always comes home. He never leaves me alone. And he listens when I talk about Mommy." Patricia made notes and Benjamin held his breath. Everything depended on this assessment. If it didn't go well, he could lose Sophie. The thought was unbearable. After the interview, Patricia and Imani spoke privately while Benjamin and Sophie waited anxiously in the living room. Sophie climbed into Benjamin's lap, something she did now when she felt nervous. "It will be okay," Benjamin told her, though his own heart was racing. "No matter what happens, I will fight for you. I promise." Finally, the two social workers came back into the room. Patricia was smiling and Benjamin felt a wave of relief. "Mr. Cole," Patricia said, "I am pleased to inform you that you have passed the home study with flying colors. Your background check came back clean, you have completed all required parenting classes, and most importantly, Sophie is clearly thriving in your care. I am recommending to the court that you be granted full legal custody." Benjamin's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. Thank you so much." "You have done the hard work, Mr. Cole," Patricia said kindly. "You took an overwhelming situation and handled it with grace and commitment. Sophie is lucky to have you as her father." After Patricia left, Imani stayed behind to finalize the paperwork. She would submit everything to the court, and within a few weeks, Benjamin would officially be Sophie's legal guardian with full parental rights. "This is it," Imani said, smiling at both of them. "Once the judge signs off, this case will be closed. Sophie will officially be yours." "We did it," Benjamin said, looking down at Sophie. "We are a real family now." Sophie hugged him tight. "I am glad I found you, Daddy." "I am glad you found me too, sweetheart." After Sophie went to her room to play, Benjamin turned to Imani. His heart was pounding, but he knew this was the right moment. "So," he said, trying to sound casual and failing. "Remember that question I asked you last week?" Imani smiled. "About dinner?" "Yes, about dinner. The case is basically closed now. Patricia will handle the final court submission. So I am asking again. Would you have dinner with me? Just the two of us, not as caseworker and client, but as two people who might want to get to know each other better." Imani was quiet for a moment and Benjamin held his breath. Then she nodded. "Yes," she said softly. "I would like that very much." Benjamin felt like his heart might burst. "Really? Really?" Imani confirmed. "But Benjamin, we need to be careful about this. Sophie has been through so much change already. If we start a relationship and it doesn't work out, that could be confusing and painful for her." "I know," Benjamin said seriously. "And I would never do anything to hurt Sophie. That is why I want to take this slow. Just dinner at first. Get to know each other outside of this situation. See if there is really something here beyond our concern for Sophie. That sounds wise, Imani agreed. But I think you should know something. I don't usually develop feelings for clients. I maintain strict professional boundaries. But there is something about you and Sophie, about the way you have stepped up and committed to being a real father, that has touched my heart. I want to see where this might go. So do I, Benjamin said, reaching out to take her hand. You have been our guide through all of this. You have taught me how to be the father Sophie needs. And in the process, I have come to care about you very deeply. Imani squeezed his hand. Then let's see what happens. One step at a time. They scheduled dinner for Friday night. Benjamin arranged for his mother to fly in and stay with Sophie, wanting their first real date to be private. He was nervous in a way he hadn't been nervous in years. Friday evening came and Benjamin's mother, Margaret Cole, arrived in the afternoon. She was a kind woman in her 60s who had been overjoyed to learn she had a granddaughter. Sophie had been nervous to meet her at first, but Margaret had brought cookies and a children's book, and within an hour they were reading together on the couch. She is wonderful, Margaret told Benjamin as he got ready for his dinner with Imani. Rebecca did an amazing job raising her. I just wish I could have known about her sooner. So do I, Mom, Benjamin said. But we are making up for lost time now. And this woman you are going to dinner with? Margaret asked with a knowing smile. She is special? She is, Benjamin admitted. She helped me learn how to be Sophie's father. And she is kind and smart and beautiful. I really like her, Mom. Then go, Margaret said, shooing him toward the door. Sophie and I will be fine. We have cookies to eat and stories to read. Benjamin kissed Sophie goodbye, promising to be home before bedtime. Then he drove to the restaurant, his heart racing with anticipation. Imani was already there, wearing a beautiful red dress that took his breath away. She had let her braids down and she looked stunning. Benjamin suddenly felt underdressed in his suit, though he knew objectively that he looked fine. You look beautiful, he said as he sat down across from her. Thank you, Imani said, smiling. You clean up pretty well yourself. Dinner started a bit awkwardly, both of them aware that this was the first time they were together without Sophie being the focus. But gradually they relaxed into conversation. They talked about their lives, their families, their dreams. Benjamin learned that Imani had become a social worker after her younger sister had spent time in foster care as a teenager. She wanted to help other children who were going through difficult times. Your sister is okay now? Benjamin asked. She is, Imani said, smiling. She is in college, studying to be a teacher. She wants to work with kids too. Our family went through a rough patch when our dad got sick, but we came through it together. It taught me the importance of family and support systems. That is why you are so good at what you do, Benjamin said. You understand what these kids are going through on a personal level. I try, Imani said. Every child deserves a safe, loving home. Seeing you and Sophie together, seeing how committed you are to being her father even though this whole situation was unexpected, it reminds me why I do this work. I couldn't have done it without you, Benjamin said honestly. You gave me the tools to be the father Sophie needed. You believed in me when I wasn't sure I could do this. You were always capable, Imani said softly. You just needed someone to show you the way. The commitment and love were already there. As dessert arrived, Benjamin reached across the table and took Imani's hand. I want to be honest with you about something, he said. I have not had a serious relationship in years. I have been focused on building my business, on success and achievement. But Sophie has changed everything for me. She has shown me what really matters. And spending these weeks with you, learning from you, has made me realize that I want more than just success. I want a family. I want love. I want a life that means something beyond quarterly earnings and stock prices. Imani's eyes were bright with emotion. What are you saying, Benjamin? I am saying that I care about you, Imani. A lot. And I want to see where this could go. I want to take the time to build something real with you. But I also want to be clear that Sophie comes first. Always. If you are with me, you are signing up for a relationship that includes a 5-year-old who needs stability and love. I know that, Imani said, squeezing his hand. And I care about Sophie deeply. I have spent weeks with both of you, and I have seen what a beautiful bond you are building. I would never want to disrupt that. But I also think that Sophie deserves to see what a healthy, loving relationship looks like. She deserves to have people in her life who show her what real love means. So you are saying yes? Benjamin asked hopefully. You are willing to try this? I am saying yes, Imani confirmed. But slowly. We take our time, we make sure Sophie is comfortable with each step, and we build something solid and real. Benjamin felt joy flood through him. I can do slow. I can do careful. As long as I get to do it with you. They finished dinner and walked through the city streets talking and laughing. When Benjamin drove Imani home, he walked her to her door like a proper gentleman. Thank you for tonight, Imani said, smiling up at him. I had a wonderful time. So did I, Benjamin said. Can we do it again? Yes, Imani said. But next time maybe we include Sophie. I think she would like to be part of this too. That is perfect, Benjamin agreed. How about a trip to the zoo this weekend? The three of us. Sophie would love that, Imani said. Then, after a moment's hesitation, she leaned up and kissed his cheek. Good night, Benjamin. Good night, Imani. Benjamin drove home feeling like he was floating. When he got back to the penthouse, his mother was reading on the couch and Sophie was asleep in her bed. He checked on his daughter, kissing her forehead gently. Sleep well, sweetheart, he whispered. Tomorrow is going to be a great day. In the living room, his mother looked up with a knowing smile. Good date? She asked. The best, Benjamin admitted. Mom, I think I am falling for her. I can tell, Margaret said warmly. And I think she is good for you. Good for both of you. Sophie needs to see love and happiness in her life. I want to build that for her, Benjamin said. A real family. With love and laughter and all the things she deserves. You will, Margaret assured him. You are already doing it. I am so proud of you, Benjamin. You have become the man I always knew you could be. That weekend, Benjamin, Imani, and Sophie went to the zoo. They spent hours looking at animals, eating overpriced zoo food, and laughing together. Sophie held both their hands as they walked, and Benjamin felt something click into place. This was what family was supposed to feel like. This was home. At the elephant exhibit, Sophie tugged on Imani's sleeve. Miss Imani, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Do you like my daddy? Imani and Benjamin exchanged glances, and Imani knelt down to Sophie's level. I do like your daddy, Imani said honestly. He is a very good person. Why do you ask? Because I like you, Sophie said simply. And I think it would be nice if you liked each other. Then maybe you could come over more, not for work but just to visit. Would you like that? Imani asked gently. If I spent more time with you and your daddy? Sophie nodded enthusiastically. Yes. You make us happy. Imani looked up at Benjamin, her eyes shining with emotion. Benjamin nodded, giving her permission to answer honestly. Then I would love to spend more time with both of you, Imani told Sophie. Not as a social worker but as a friend. Would that be okay? Yes, Sophie said, hugging Imani. That would be very okay. As they continued through the zoo, Benjamin felt grateful for this unexpected second chance at life. Sophie had brought him a gift beyond measure when she appeared on his terrace that rainy night. She had given him purpose, love, and now, possibly, a future he had never imagined. And he was going to cherish every moment of it. The weeks following the zoo trip fell into a comfortable rhythm. Benjamin had officially received full legal custody of Sophie, and the court had finalized his parental rights. He was no longer a temporary guardian or a man waiting for test results. He was simply Sophie's father in every way that mattered. Imani had become a regular presence in their lives, though they were careful to maintain boundaries that would keep Sophie comfortable. She came for dinner twice a week, joined them for weekend activities, and slowly became part of their family unit. Sophie adored her, often asking when Miss Imani would visit next. Benjamin's business had taken a back seat to his new priorities, but surprisingly, the company was doing better than ever. His business partner, Thomas Green, had stepped up to handle more of the day-to-day operations, and Benjamin found that delegating actually made the company run more smoothly. He still put in solid work hours, but he left by 3 every day to pick Sophie up from school, and he never worked weekends anymore. You seem different, Thomas told him one afternoon as they wrapped up a meeting. Happier. More grounded. I am, Benjamin admitted. Sophie has changed my whole perspective on what matters. Success isn't just about money or market share anymore. It is about being present for the people you love. It suits you, Thomas said. And Sophie is a great kid. My wife and I would love to have you both over for dinner sometime. Our daughter is about Sophie's age. They might become friends. We would love that, Benjamin said, genuinely pleased. He was learning that Sophie needed more than just him. She needed a community, friends, other families to connect with. One Saturday afternoon, Benjamin and Sophie were working on a puzzle in the living room when Sophie looked up at him with a serious expression. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always, Benjamin said, setting down the puzzle piece he was holding. Do you think Mommy would be happy that I live with you now? Benjamin's heart clenched. They talked about Rebecca regularly, but this was the first time Sophie had asked this specific question. I think your mommy would be very happy, Benjamin said carefully. She loved you more than anything in the world, and all she wanted was for you to be safe and loved. That is why she made sure you found me. But do you think she is sad that she is not here? I think if your mommy is watching over you from heaven, she is probably a little sad that she can't be here in person, Benjamin said honestly. But I also think she is proud of how brave you have been, and how well you are doing. And I think she would want you to be happy and have a good life. Sophie was quiet for a moment, thinking this over. I want to be happy, but sometimes I feel bad when I am happy because Mommy is not here to be happy with me. Benjamin pulled Sophie into his lap, holding her close. Listen to me, Sophie. Your mommy would want you to be happy. She would want you to laugh and play and enjoy your life. Being happy doesn't mean you love her less or miss her less. It just means you are living the life she wanted you to have. Really? Really? Benjamin confirmed. And you know what? I think your mommy would be really happy about something else too. What? I think she would be happy that you have Miss Imani in your life now. Someone else who cares about you and wants good things for you. Sophie smiled. I like Miss Imani a lot. Do you like her? I like her very much, Benjamin admitted. Like really, really like her? Sophie asked with a knowing look that was far too mature for a 5-year-old. Benjamin laughed. Yes, really, really like her. Is that okay with you? It is very okay, Sophie said firmly. Because Miss Imani makes you smile more. And when you are happy, I feel safe. That simple statement hit Benjamin hard. Sophie needed him to be happy because his happiness meant stability for her. It was a reminder of how much his emotional state affected his daughter. That evening, after Sophie went to bed, Benjamin called Imani. Can you come over tomorrow? He asked. There is something I want to talk to you about. Is everything okay? Imani asked, concern in her voice. Everything is great, Benjamin assured her. I just want to have a conversation with you about us, about the future. And I would like to do it in person. All right, Imani said. I will come over for lunch tomorrow. The next day, Benjamin cooked a simple meal while Sophie played in her room. When Imani arrived, Sophie greeted her with a big hug, then went back to her activities, giving the adults time to talk. Benjamin and Imani sat in the living room with coffee, and Benjamin took a deep breath before speaking. These past few months have been incredible, he began. Sophie has brought so much joy and purpose into my life. And you have been a huge part of that. You didn't just teach me how to be a father. You showed me what it means to be part of a real family. Benjamin, Imani said softly, taking his hand. Let me finish, Benjamin said gently. I want you to know that I am falling in love with you, Imani. I want to build a future with you. But I need to know if you feel the same way. If you can see yourself being part of our lives long term. Because if we keep moving forward, I want it to be with the intention of building something permanent. Something that includes all three of us. Imani's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. I feel the same way, Benjamin. I have tried to be cautious, to maintain boundaries, but the truth is that I have fallen for both of you. When I think about my future, I see Sophie learning to ride a bike and you cheering her on. I see family dinners and homework help and bedtime stories. I see us together. Benjamin felt relief wash over him. So you are willing to take this next step? To officially be my girlfriend, to be part of our family? Yes, Imani said without hesitation. I want that very much. They kissed then, a soft sweet kiss that held the promise of a beautiful future. When they pulled apart, they found Sophie standing in the doorway, grinning from ear to ear. Does this mean Miss Imani is your girlfriend now? Sophie asked excitedly. Benjamin laughed. Yes, it does. Is that okay with you? It is the best thing ever, Sophie declared, running over to hug both of them. Now we can be a real family. Over the next few weeks, Imani began spending more time at the penthouse. She still had her own apartment, but she would come over after work and stay for dinner, sometimes staying late to watch movies or help with Sophie's bath time routine. She fit into their lives seamlessly, as though she had always been meant to be there. Benjamin's business partners took notice of the change in him. He was more relaxed, more present in meetings, and his decision-making had improved. He was no longer chasing success for its own sake, but building something sustainable that would allow him to maintain work-life balance. We want to make you an offer, Thomas said one day after a board meeting. We want to adjust your role in the company. Keep you as CEO but give you more flexibility. We will hire additional executives to handle more of the day-to-day operations. That way you can focus on the big picture while having more time for your family. Benjamin was stunned. Are you sure? That is a significant change. We are sure, Thomas said. You built this company, Benjamin. But we can see that you have other priorities now, and that is not a bad thing. It is actually good for the company. You bring a different perspective now, one that is more sustainable and human-centered. We want to support that. Thank you, Benjamin said, genuinely moved. I accept your offer with gratitude. He told Imani and Sophie about the change that evening over dinner. That is wonderful, Imani said, squeezing his hand. It means you will have even more time with Sophie. And with you, Benjamin added. I want to make sure I am present for all the important moments. School plays, soccer games, family dinners. All of it. Daddy, I don't play soccer, Sophie pointed out. Do you want to? Benjamin asked. Sophie thought about it. Maybe. Can I try? Of course you can try, Benjamin said. We will sign you up for the next session. And if you don't like it, we will find something else. Can Miss Imani come watch my games? Sophie asked. I would love to, Imani said, smiling at the little girl. I will be your biggest cheerleader. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Benjamin and Imani sat on the couch talking about the future. I want to ask you something, Benjamin said. And I want you to think about it seriously before you answer. Okay, Imani said, looking at him with curiosity. Would you consider moving in with us? Not right away, but maybe in a few months. I know it is a big step, but I want us to be a real family. I want Sophie to see what a loving, committed relationship looks like. And I want to wake up next to you every morning. Imani was quiet for a long moment. That is a big step. Are you sure Sophie is ready for that? I think she is, Benjamin said. But we should ask her first. Make sure she is comfortable with the idea. They talked to Sophie the next day, carefully explaining that they were thinking about Imani moving in and asking how Sophie felt about it. Would Miss Imani have her own room? Sophie asked. Miss Imani would share a room with me, Benjamin explained. Like mommies and daddies do. Would that be okay with you? Sophie thought carefully, her face serious. So Miss Imani would be here all the time? Like every morning and every night? Yes, Imani said. If I moved in, I would be part of your everyday life. Would you like that? Sophie nodded slowly. I think I would like that a lot. Sometimes at night I get scared, and it would be nice to know Miss Imani is here too. And in the morning, we could all have breakfast together every day. Those are good reasons, Benjamin said, relieved. So you are okay with this? Yes, Sophie said. Then she looked at Imani seriously. But Miss Imani, if you move in, does that mean you will be like a second mommy? Imani knelt down to Sophie's level. I would never try to replace your mommy, she said gently. Your mommy will always be your mommy and no one can take her place. But if you wanted me to be like another mommy who loves you and takes care of you, I would be honored to do that. What would you like me to be? Sophie thought about this carefully. Can you be like a bonus mommy? Someone who is extra, not instead of. I love that, Imani said, her voice thick with emotion. I would be honored to be your bonus mommy. Sophie hugged her tight. Then yes, you should definitely move in. And just like that, their family expanded. Imani gave notice on her apartment and began the process of moving in. They cleared out Benjamin's home office and converted it into a reading nook and workspace for Imani. They rearranged the master bedroom to make room for her things. They combined their lives bit by bit, creating something new and beautiful. The night Imani officially moved in, they celebrated with Sophie's favorite dinner and a special cake. Sophie made a drawing of all three of them holding hands, which they hung in the refrigerator. And when Sophie went to bed that night, she hugged both of them and said, I am so glad you found each other. Mommy would be happy. Benjamin lay awake that night with Imani beside him, marveling at how much his life had changed in just a few months. A year ago he had been alone, focused only on work, with no idea that his entire world was about to shift. Now he had a daughter who filled his days with joy and laughter. He had a woman he loved who made him want to be a better person. He had a family. And he would never take any of it for granted. 3 months after Imani moved in, life had settled into a beautiful routine. Benjamin's morning started with Sophie jumping on the bed to wake him up, followed by family breakfast where they all shared their plans for the day. He would drop Sophie at school before heading to the office, where he worked until early afternoon. He would pick Sophie up, help with homework, and then Imani would come home from her job and they would cook dinner together. Evenings were filled with games, books, and conversations. Weekends meant trips to the park, visits to museums, and lazy mornings with pancakes and cartoons. Their home was full of laughter and love, and Benjamin sometimes had to pinch himself to believe this was his real life. Sophie had bloomed in the stable, loving environment. She was doing well in school, had made several friends, and was taking both art classes and soccer, which she had decided she loved despite initial doubts. She still had moments where she missed Rebecca deeply, especially at bedtime, but those moments were becoming less frequent as she learned to carry her mother's memory in her heart while moving forward with her life. One Saturday morning, Benjamin and Imani were making breakfast while Sophie colored at the kitchen table. Sophie looked up from her drawing and said casually, "Emily's parents are married. Are you and Miss Imani going to get married?" Benjamin nearly dropped the spatula he was holding. Imani turned from the stove, her eyes wide. They had talked about marriage privately, both agreeing that it was something they wanted eventually, but they hadn't expected Sophie to bring it up so directly. "Well," Benjamin said carefully, "marriage is something adults do when they love each other very much and want to promise to be together forever. Miss Imani and I do love each other very much." "Why do you ask?" "Because Emily said her mommy and daddy got married before she was born," Sophie explained. "And I thought maybe if you got married, then Miss Imani could be my bonus mommy for real forever." Imani sat down next to Sophie. "Sweetheart, whether we get married or not, I am already your bonus mommy forever. Marriage is a special ceremony, but the love and commitment are already here." "But don't you want to get married?" Sophie asked, looking between them. "Emily says weddings have cake and pretty dresses." Benjamin and Imani exchanged glances. They had been planning to wait at least another year before taking that step, wanting to make sure Sophie was fully adjusted to their family unit. But Sophie's question made Benjamin realize that maybe they were overthinking things. They were already a family. Why wait to make it official? "Can Miss Imani and I talk about this privately?" Benjamin asked Sophie. "And then we will give you a real answer, okay?" "Okay," Sophie said, returning to her coloring. "But I think you should get married. Then we would be a real official family." Later that day, after Sophie went to play at her friend Emily's house, Benjamin and Imani sat down to talk seriously. "She caught us off guard," Imani said, smiling. "She did," Benjamin agreed. "But she also made me realize something. We have been waiting for the perfect time, but maybe there is no perfect time. We love each other. We are committed to each other. Sophie wants this. Why are we waiting?" "Are you saying what I think you are saying?" Imani asked, her heart racing. Benjamin took her hands in his. "I am saying that I want to marry you, Imani. Not in a year, not in 6 months. Because you are already my partner in every way that matters. And I want Sophie to see us make that commitment to each other and to her. But we haven't even talked about engagement rings or proposals," Imani pointed out, though she was smiling. "Then let's talk about it now," Benjamin said. "What kind of proposal would you want? What kind of ring?" Imani laughed. "Benjamin Cole, are you planning to propose to me while sitting on the couch in sweatpants? Would you prefer something more romantic?" Benjamin asked, grinning. "I would prefer something that includes Sophie," Imani said seriously, "because she is part of this too. If we are going to be a family, then our engagement should involve all 3 of us." "You are right," Benjamin said. "So let's plan it together. What if we did something special, just the 3 of us, where we all commit to being a family together?" They spent the next week planning. Benjamin took Sophie shopping for a ring, letting her help pick out the design. Sophie chose a beautiful design with 3 small diamonds set together, representing the 3 of them. "It is perfect, Daddy," Sophie said, admiring the ring. "Miss Imani will love it." They planned a special family dinner at home. Benjamin and Sophie cooked Imani's favorite meal together, lasagna with a salad. Sophie made a special drawing showing all 3 of them with the words, "Our Forever Family" written at the top. They set the table with candles and flowers that Sophie had picked out. When Imani came home from work that evening, she immediately noticed something was different. The apartment smelled amazing, the lights were dimmed, and Sophie was wearing her favorite blue dress, practically bouncing with excitement. "What is going on?" Imani asked, smiling at the scene before her. "It is a special night," Sophie said mysteriously. "Come sit down." They ate dinner together, laughing and talking like always, but Benjamin noticed Imani kept glancing at him with curiosity. Sophie kept giggling into her napkin, barely able to contain her excitement. After dinner, Sophie brought out her drawing and presented it to Imani. "I made this for you," Sophie said, "because you are the best bonus mommy ever." Imani looked at the drawing, her eyes filling with tears. It showed all 3 of them holding hands surrounded by hearts and stars. "This is beautiful, Sophie. Thank you so much." "There is something else," Sophie said, looking at Benjamin with excitement. Benjamin stood up and took Imani's hand, gently pulling her to her feet. Sophie stood beside them, holding both their hands. Imani, Benjamin began, his voice shaking slightly with emotion. 6 months ago, Sophie appeared on my terrace and changed my life forever. She brought me something I didn't even know I was missing. A family. But it wasn't just Sophie who changed me. It was you. You taught me how to be a father. You showed me what real love looks like. You made our house into a home. Imani's tears were flowing freely now, and Sophie squeezed her hand encouragingly. You once told me that Sophie deserves to see what a healthy, loving relationship looks like, Benjamin continued. Well, I want to show her that every day for the rest of our lives. I want to show her that when you love someone, you commit to them completely. You choose them every day. Benjamin knelt down on one knee, and Sophie knelt beside him, both of them looking up at Imani. We have a question for you, Benjamin said, pulling out the ring box. Sophie took the drawing and held it up next to him. Will you marry us? They asked together. Will you be part of our family forever? Imani was crying so hard she could barely speak. She looked at Benjamin, at Sophie, at the life they had built together. Yes, she managed to say through her tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I want nothing more than to be part of your family forever. Benjamin slipped the ring onto her finger while Sophie cheered. Then both of them stood up, and the three of them wrapped their arms around each other in a group hug, crying and laughing at the same time. We are going to be a real family now, Sophie said happily. With a wedding and everything. We already were a real family, Imani said, kissing the top of Sophie's head. But now we get to celebrate it. They spent the rest of the evening talking about wedding plans. Sophie had many ideas, most involving lots of cake and flowers. Benjamin and Imani let her dream out loud, both of them content to listen to her excited chatter. Later that night, after Sophie was asleep, Benjamin and Imani sat together on the couch, Imani admiring her ring in the soft lamplight. I never imagined this, Imani said softly. When I first came to your door looking for a runaway child, I never imagined I would end up here, engaged to be married, part of a family. Neither did I, Benjamin admitted. But I am so grateful that Sophie ran away that night. I am grateful she found me. And I am grateful that you helped us become the family we are today. We helped each other, Imani corrected. You taught me something too, Benjamin. You taught me that it is never too late to find where you belong. That family can form in unexpected ways. And that love is about choice and commitment, not just circumstance. When should we get married? Benjamin asked. What is the timeline you are thinking? I don't want a long engagement, Imani said. Life is too short and we have already spent enough time waiting for the right moment. What if we did something simple in a few months? Just close family and friends. Something that is meaningful but not overwhelming. That sounds perfect, Benjamin agreed. And Sophie can help plan it. This is her day too. They set a date 3 months away, enough time to plan but not so long that it felt distant. Over the next few weeks, they involved Sophie in every decision. She helped pick out colors, she insisted on lots of blue and red, helped design the invitations and practiced being a flower girl by throwing paper petals around the living room. Benjamin's mother was thrilled about the wedding and immediately flew in to help with preparations. She had fallen in love with both Sophie and Imani, telling Benjamin repeatedly how proud she was of the man he had become. Your father would have loved seeing this, Margaret told Benjamin one afternoon as they watched Sophie and Imani bake cookies together. A real family. That is what he always wanted for you. I wish he was here to see it, Benjamin said. He is, Margaret assured him. In spirit he is here. And he is proud of you. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with excitement and joy. Thomas and his wife offered to host the rehearsal dinner at their home. Imani's parents flew in from their home state, immediately embracing Benjamin and Sophie as family. Imani's younger sister, Kendra, who was home from college, bonded instantly with Sophie, offering to be a junior bridesmaid. One evening, about 2 weeks before the wedding, Sophie came to Benjamin with a serious expression on her face. Daddy, I need to talk to you about something. What is it, sweetheart? Benjamin asked, setting aside his laptop. At the wedding, when you and Miss Imani get married, does that mean you will officially be my new family? Sophie, we are already your family, Benjamin said gently. The wedding doesn't change that. I know, Sophie said. But I was thinking about Mommy. And I want her to be part of the wedding too. Benjamin's throat tightened. What do you mean? Can we have a picture of Mommy at the wedding? So she can be there too? I don't want her to feel left out. Benjamin pulled Sophie into his arms, overwhelmed by the depth of this child's heart. Even in her happiness, she was thinking about the mother she had lost. That is a beautiful idea, Benjamin said. Let's talk to Miss Imani about it and figure out the perfect way to honor your mommy at the wedding. When they told Imani, she immediately agreed. They decided to create a small memorial table at the wedding venue with Rebecca's picture, surrounded by flowers. Sophie helped choose the frame and wrote a little note that would sit beside the picture. Thank you for sending me to find my daddy and my bonus mommy. I love you forever. Yours, Sophie. The gesture moved everyone who learned about it, and Benjamin realized once again that their family was built not just on the present and future, but on honoring the past that had brought them together. As the wedding day drew closer, Benjamin felt a sense of peace and rightness that he had never experienced before. This was where he was meant to be. With Sophie, with Imani, building a life filled with love and laughter and the kind of joy that came from choosing each other every single day. And he couldn't wait to make it official. 2 weeks before the wedding, Sophie woke up screaming in the middle of the night. Benjamin and Imani both rushed to her room, finding her sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face, her whole body shaking. Sophie, what is wrong? Benjamin asked, sitting on the bed and pulling her into his arms. What happened? I dreamed you went away, Sophie sobbed into his shoulder. Just like Mommy did. One day you were here and then you were gone and I couldn't find you anywhere. Oh, sweetheart, Benjamin said, holding her tight. I'm not going anywhere. I promise you I'm not going anywhere. But Mommy promised too, Sophie cried. She said she would get better and we would be okay. But she didn't get better. She left me. Imani sat on the other side of Sophie, rubbing her back gently. Your mommy didn't want to leave you, honey. She got very sick and sometimes when people get that sick they can't stay. No matter how much they want to. But your daddy is healthy and strong and he is going to be here for a very long time. But how do you know? Sophie asked, her voice breaking. How do you know something bad won't happen? Benjamin felt helpless. How could he promise a child that nothing bad would ever happen when life was so uncertain? He looked at Imani, desperate for guidance. Imani took Sophie's hand. You are right that we can't promise nothing bad will ever happen, she said gently. Life is unpredictable and sometimes scary things happen that are out of our control. But here is what we can promise. We promise to take care of ourselves and be as healthy as possible. We promise to always tell you the truth. And we promise that if anything ever did happen to one of us, you would still be loved and cared for. You would never be alone again. Really? Sophie whispered. Really? Benjamin confirmed. Sophie, I understand that you are scared. What happened with your mommy was terrifying and unfair. But I am here, Miss Imani is here, Grandma Margaret is here. You have a whole family now who loves you and will always make sure you are safe. Sophie was quiet for a long time, and then she said something that broke Benjamin's heart. Sometimes I feel bad for being happy here. Like I am forgetting mommy or leaving her behind. Oh, Sophie, Imani said, tears in her own eyes. You are not leaving your mommy behind. She is part of you, part of your heart, and she always will be. Being happy with us doesn't mean you love her any less. In fact, I think being happy is exactly what your mommy would want for you. She wouldn't want you to be sad forever. But what if I forget her? Sophie asked, her voice small and scared. What if I forget what she looked like or how she sounded? You won't forget, Benjamin promised. We have pictures of her and we talk about her all the time. Your memories of her are precious and we will help you keep them alive. And you know what? I think your mommy's love for you is so strong that it doesn't matter if your memories fade a little. Her love is in your heart forever and nothing can take that away. They stayed with Sophie until she fell back asleep, both of them troubled by the depth of her fears. In the morning, Imani suggested they consider therapy for Sophie. I think she needs professional help to process her grief and anxiety, Imani said as they made breakfast. Nightmares like that aren't uncommon for children who have lost a parent, but she needs tools to cope with those feelings. I agree, Benjamin said immediately. Can you help me find someone? A child psychologist who specializes in grief and trauma. I know several excellent people, Imani said. Let me make some calls today. Within 3 days, Sophie had her first appointment with Dr. Lisa Martinez, a warm child psychologist who specialized in helping children cope with loss. Benjamin and Imani met with Dr. Martinez first to explain the situation, then Sophie began weekly sessions. The therapy helped tremendously. Dr. Martinez taught Sophie coping strategies for when she felt anxious or scared. She helped Sophie understand that it was okay to have multiple emotions at once, to be both sad about losing her mother and happy about her new family. She gave Sophie tools to manage her fears and ways to honor Rebecca's memory without feeling guilty for moving forward. Benjamin attended some sessions with Sophie, learning how to better support her emotional needs. Dr. Martinez taught him about trauma responses in children and how to create an environment where Sophie felt safe expressing difficult emotions. You are doing all the right things, Dr. Martinez told Benjamin after one session. Sophie is a resilient child, and she has a strong support system. The nightmares and anxiety are normal responses to what she has been through. With time and support, she will learn to manage these feelings. As Sophie began to feel more secure, the nightmares became less frequent. She still had hard days, especially when something reminded her of Rebecca, but she was learning to talk about her feelings instead of keeping them bottled up inside. One afternoon, about a week before the wedding, Sophie came home from therapy with a project Dr. Martinez had helped her create. It was a memory box, decorated with stickers and paint, filled with items that reminded her of Rebecca. There were photos, a scarf that still smelled like her mother's perfume, a recipe card in Rebecca's handwriting, and a letter Sophie had written to her mom. Dr. Lisa says this is my special box for when I miss Mommy really bad, Sophie explained. I can open it and remember her, and then I can close it and keep living my life. She says both things are okay. That is a wonderful idea, Imani said, admiring the box. Where would you like to keep it? In my room, Sophie said. So I can look at it whenever I want, but it doesn't have to be out all the time. They found the perfect spot on Sophie's bookshelf, where the memory box sat among her favorite books and toys. It became a source of comfort for Sophie, a physical reminder that she could honor her past while building her future. As the wedding approached, Benjamin found himself dealing with his own anxieties. Late one night, unable to sleep, he went to the kitchen for water and found Imani already there, also unable to sleep. Nervous about the wedding? She asked with a slight smile. A little, Benjamin admitted. Not about marrying you. That is the easiest decision I have ever made. But I keep thinking about how to be the husband you deserve while also being the father Sophie needs. What if I mess it up? What if I am not enough? Imani took his hand and led him to the couch. They sat together in the darkness, and she spoke with gentle wisdom. Benjamin, none of us are ever enough on our own. That is why we build families and communities. We support each other, we help each other, and we grow together. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up, be honest, and keep trying. That is all any of us can do. I just don't want to let you down, Benjamin said. Or Sophie. You both deserve so much. And you don't think you deserve us? Imani asked perceptively. Benjamin was quiet for a long moment. Sometimes I wonder why Rebecca chose me. Why she thought I would be a good father when I had no experience, no preparation. What if I am not the person she thought I was? Benjamin, look at what you have built in the past 6 months, Imani said firmly. You took a scared little girl and gave her a home. You learned how to be a father from scratch. You opened your heart to love even though it scared you. You have become exactly the person Rebecca believed you could be. Stop doubting yourself and recognize how far you have come. Her words broke through something in Benjamin. She was right. He had changed, had grown, had become someone he was proud to be. And it was okay if he still had doubts or fears. That was part of being human. Thank you, he said, pulling her close. For believing in me. For seeing the best in me even when I can't see it myself. That is what partners do, Imani said. We hold each other up. And when one of us is struggling, the other steps in. We are a team, Benjamin. Always. The next day, Benjamin's mother arrived with her brother, Benjamin's uncle James, who lived overseas and rarely visited. James was in his late 60s, a jovial man with a quick laugh and a generous heart. He immediately bonded with Sophie, teaching her card tricks and telling her stories about Benjamin as a child. Your daddy was a serious little boy, Uncle James told Sophie over dinner. Always reading, always thinking. I worried he would grow up and forget how to have fun. But look at him now. He is smiling all the time because of you. Really? Sophie asked, delighted. Really? James confirmed. You brought joy back into his life. That is a special gift, little one. The rehearsal dinner was held at Thomas and his wife Jennifer's home. Their daughter Emma had become good friends with Sophie, and the two girls spent the evening playing while the adults talked and laughed. It was a small gathering, just immediate family and a few close friends, but it felt perfect. Benjamin stood to make a toast, looking around at all the people who had become part of his life in such a short time. 6 months ago, I thought I knew what success looked like, he began. I thought it was about money and power and achievement. Then a little girl showed up on my terrace in the rain and taught me what really matters. Sophie, you changed my life. You showed me what unconditional love looks like. And Imani, you taught me how to be worthy of that love. You both have given me more than I ever knew I needed. Tomorrow we make it official. But in my heart, We have been a family from the moment Sophie said, "Daddy," for the first time. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this journey with us. There wasn't a dry eye in the room when he finished. Even Uncle James was dabbing at his eyes with his napkin. That night, after they got home and put Sophie to bed, Benjamin and Imani sat together in the quiet living room. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Imani asked. "More than ready," Benjamin said. "I have waited my whole life for this, even when I didn't know I was waiting." "Me too," Imani said softly. "I used to think my life would follow a certain path. College, career, maybe eventually a family. But this is better than anything I imagined. This is real and messy and beautiful. This is everything." They held each other in the darkness, both of them filled with gratitude for the unexpected journey that had brought them to this moment. Tomorrow they would stand before their loved ones and make promises to each other. But tonight, in the quiet of their home with their daughter sleeping peacefully down the hall, they were already everything they needed to be. A family built on love, trust, and the courage to embrace the unexpected blessings that life brings. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear, with sunlight streaming through the windows of the penthouse. Benjamin woke early, his heart full of anticipation. Today he would marry the woman he loved, and together they would officially become the family they already were in their hearts. Sophie was already awake, sitting up in her bed and humming to herself. When Benjamin peeked in, she beamed at him. "Today is the wedding day, Daddy." "It sure is, sweetheart. How do you feel?" "Excited," Sophie said, bouncing a little on her bed. "And a tiny bit nervous about walking down the aisle. But mostly excited." Benjamin's mother had stayed over and was already in the kitchen making breakfast. The smell of pancakes filled the apartment, and Benjamin felt a wave of contentment. This was what home felt like. This was what family meant. They had decided to keep the ceremony simple and intimate. Just 30 guests, close family and friends, at a small event space in a garden nearby. The ceremony would be at 2 p.m., giving them plenty of time to prepare without rushing. Imani had stayed at her parents' hotel the night before, following tradition. Her mother, father, and sister Kendra had flown in 3 days earlier, and they had all grown close to Benjamin and Sophie during that time. Imani's father, Robert Washington, had taken Benjamin aside the previous evening. "I want to thank you," Robert had said, "for taking such good care of my daughter, and for including us in Sophie's life. It takes a good man to open his home and heart the way you have. Your daughter saved us," Benjamin had said honestly. "She taught me how to be a father. She made our family whole. I should be thanking you for raising such an incredible woman." Now, as morning turned to afternoon, Benjamin found himself getting dressed in his blue suit while Uncle James helped him with his tie. They had chosen blue to match Sophie's flower girl dress, which was a beautiful bright blue with white flowers embroidered on the bodice. "You look very handsome, Daddy," Sophie said when she saw him all dressed up. "And you look like a princess," Benjamin told her, admiring her dress. Margaret had helped her with her hair, braiding it with small white flowers woven throughout. At 1:30 p.m. they headed to the venue. The garden space was beautiful, with white chairs set up in rows facing an arch covered in blue and red flowers. The memorial table for Rebecca was set up to the side, with her photo surrounded by candles and the note Sophie had written. Several guests had already arrived, admiring the simple but elegant decorations. Thomas served as Benjamin's best man, while Imani's sister Kendra was the maid of honor. Sophie was practicing her flower girl walk with one of the venue coordinators, taking her role very seriously. At 1:55 p.m., the guests were all seated. Soft music began playing, and Benjamin took his place at the altar with Thomas beside him. His heart was racing with joy and anticipation. The music changed and Sophie began her walk down the aisle. She moved slowly and carefully, dropping flower petals from her basket with great concentration. When she reached the front, she gave Benjamin a big smile and took her place to the side. Then Kendra walked down the aisle, looking elegant in her red dress, followed by Imani's parents. And then Imani appeared. Benjamin's breath caught in his throat. She was wearing a stunning red dress that flowed to the ground, simple but elegant. Her braids were styled in an intricate updo, with small crystal pins that caught the light. She was carrying a bouquet of blue and white flowers, and she was smiling through happy tears. Her father walked her down the aisle, and when they reached Benjamin, Robert placed Imani's hand in Benjamin's and whispered, "Take care of each other." "We will," Benjamin promised. The officiant, a friend of Imani's family who had become ordained specifically for this ceremony, began to speak. "We are gathered here today to witness the union of Benjamin Cole and Imani Washington, and to celebrate the family they have already become. This is not just a wedding between two people, but the official joining of a family that includes their daughter, Sophie. Today, all three of them are making promises to each other. Benjamin and Imani had written their own vows. Benjamin went first, his voice strong despite his emotions. Imani, 6 months ago, I didn't know what I was missing in my life. I had success but not purpose. I had a house but not a home. Then Sophie came into my life and you came right behind her, showing me what it meant to build something real and meaningful. You taught me patience when I had none. You showed me kindness when I felt lost. You helped me become the father Sophie needed, and in doing so, you became the partner I needed. I promise to love you, support you, and choose you every day for the rest of our lives. I promise to be present, to be honest, and to never take for granted the gift of your love. You are my home, Imani. You and Sophie. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure you both know how loved you are. There wasn't a dry eye among the guests. Even Thomas was wiping away tears. Then it was Imani's turn. She took a deep breath and began. Benjamin, when I first came to your door looking for a lost child, I had no idea I was about to find my own family. Watching you learn to be a father, seeing your commitment and dedication showed me what real love looks like. It is not about grand gestures or perfect moments. It is about showing up even when you are scared. It is about choosing love even when it is hard. You did that for Sophie and you did it for me. I promise to stand by your side through all of life's challenges. I promise to help you be the best father you can be. I promise to love Sophie as my own, to honor the mother who gave her life, and to help build a future where she feels safe and loved. And I promise to love you with my whole heart, today and every day after. You are my family, Benjamin. You and Sophie. And I am so grateful for this beautiful life we are building together. Benjamin was crying now, not bothering to hide his tears. He looked over at Sophie, who was watching with wide, happy eyes, and he felt complete. The officiant then turned to Sophie. Sophie, would you like to join your daddy and your bonus mommy? Sophie nodded eagerly and came to stand between them, holding both their hands. The officiant smiled at her. Sophie, your daddy and your bonus mommy are making promises to each other today. But they also want to make promises to you. Would you like to hear them? Yes, please, Sophie said. Benjamin knelt down so he was eye level with Sophie. Sophie, I promise to always be here for you. To listen when you need to talk, to help when you are struggling, and to celebrate when you are happy. I promise to honor your mommy's memory and to help you keep her alive in your heart. I promise to be the daddy you deserve now and always. Imani knelt down beside him. Sophie, I promise to love you like my own daughter. I promise to support you, guide you, and be there for all of life's big moments and small ones. I promise to never try to replace your mommy, but to be an addition to your life who loves you completely. You are my daughter in every way that matters, and I am so proud to be your bonus mommy. Sophie threw her arms around both of them and they all hugged right there in front of everyone. The guests were laughing and crying at the same time, moved by the love this family shared. When they stood back up, the officiant had them exchange rings. Benjamin slid a simple gold band onto Imani's finger, and she did the same for him. Then Imani pulled out a small box and opened it, revealing a delicate necklace with a small heart pendant. This is for you, Sophie, Imani said, fastening it around Sophie's neck. So you always remember that you are loved by both of us, and that we are a family forever. Sophie touched the pendant, her eyes shining with tears. I love it. I love both of you so much. Finally, the officiant pronounced them husband and wife and said with a smile, Benjamin, you may kiss your bride. Benjamin pulled Imani close and kissed her, a sweet kiss full of promise and joy. Their guests erupted in applause and cheers. Sophie was jumping up and down, clapping her hands with delight. As they walked back down the aisle together, with Sophie between them holding both their hands, Benjamin felt like his heart might burst from happiness. They had done it. They were officially a family. The reception was held in the same garden space, with tables set up under strings of lights. There was music and dancing and laughter. Sophie and Emma ran around playing while the adults talked and celebrated. Benjamin's mother gave a touching speech about how proud she was of her son and how blessed they were to have Imani and Sophie in their lives. When it was time for the first dance, Benjamin and Imani swayed together to a soft, romantic song. But halfway through they beckoned Sophie to join them, and the three of them danced together, a family united by love and choice and commitment. Later in the evening, as the sun was setting and the lights were twinkling overhead, Sophie approached Benjamin and Imani where they were sitting together. Can I say something? Sophie asked. Of course, sweetheart, Benjamin said, pulling her onto his lap. Sophie looked out at all their guests, then back at Benjamin and Imani. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for finding each other. Thank you for letting me be part of your family. And thank you to everyone here for celebrating with us today." Then she pulled out a small folded piece of paper from her dress pocket. "I wrote this for Mommy Rebecca. Dr. Lisa helped me. Can I read it?" "Please do," Imani said softly. Sophie unfolded the paper and began to read. "Dear Mommy, today Daddy and Miss Imani got married and we are a forever family now. I want you to know that I am happy, but I still miss you every day. You were right when you told me to find Daddy. He is the best daddy in the world. And Miss Imani is the best bonus mommy. I think you would really like her. She takes care of us the way you took care of me. She makes sure I eat my vegetables and do my homework, but she also lets us have ice cream on Fridays and tells funny jokes. I know you are watching from heaven and I hope you are proud of me. I try to be brave like you taught me. I try to be kind like you were. And I try to remember that love doesn't end, it just changes shape. I will always be your Sophie, even though I am also Daddy's Sophie and Miss Imani's Sophie now. Thank you for being my mommy. I love you forever. Your daughter, Sophie." There was not a dry eye in the entire garden. Even the catering staff were wiping away tears. Benjamin held Sophie tight, overwhelmed by her capacity for love and forgiveness. Imani wrapped her arms around both of them, and they sat there together as the sun set on their wedding day. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, they received hugs and well wishes from everyone. Uncle James told Benjamin that his brother would have been proud. Thomas told him that this was the happiest he had ever seen him. Imani's parents embraced all three of them, officially welcoming Benjamin and Sophie into their family. Finally, it was just them, along with Margaret, who had offered to take Sophie for the night so Benjamin and Imani could have a wedding night alone. Sophie hugged them both tight before leaving with her grandmother. "Have fun being married," Sophie told them seriously. "But don't forget to come get me tomorrow." "We could never forget you," Benjamin assured her. "You are part of us," Imani added. "Always." After everyone had left and they were alone in their apartment, Benjamin and Imani stood together looking out at the city lights. "We did it," Imani said, leaning against him. "We are married." "Best decision I ever made," Benjamin said, kissing the top of her head. "Second best, actually. The best was accepting Sophie into my life. But you are a very close second." Imani laughed. "I will take it. As long as I am part of your top two." They stood there in comfortable silence for a while, both of them thinking about how far they had come and how much their lives had changed. "Thank you," Benjamin said finally. "For what?" "For seeing who I could be, even when I couldn't see it myself. For teaching me how to be a father. For loving Sophie like she is your own. For choosing us." "Thank you for letting me in," Imani said. "For trusting me with your daughter and your heart. For building this beautiful life with me." "So what now?" Benjamin asked, smiling down at her. "We are married. We have a daughter. What is our next adventure?" "Now we just live," Imani said simply. "We wake up every day and choose each other. We raise Sophie with love and kindness. We build a life filled with laughter and joy. We keep growing, keep learning, keep loving. That is the adventure." "Sounds perfect to me," Benjamin said. And as he held his wife close, looking out at the city where his daughter had found him on a rainy night 6 months ago, he knew that this was exactly where he was meant to be. Home. Finally, completely, perfectly home. The week after the wedding, life settled into a new normal that felt both familiar and exciting. Imani officially took Benjamin's last name, becoming Imani Cole, though she kept Washington as a middle name to honor her family. Sophie had asked if she could also become Sophie Cole, and Benjamin had immediately started the legal process to make it official. "I want us all to have the same name," Sophie had explained. "So everyone knows we are a real family." The legal name change for Sophie would take a few months to finalize, but in their hearts and home she was already Sophie Cole. Teachers at school had been informed of the change, and Sophie proudly introduced Imani as "my bonus mommy" to anyone who would listen. One Saturday morning about 3 weeks after the wedding, Benjamin was working on his laptop in the living room when Sophie approached him with a thoughtful expression. "Daddy, can I ask you something important?" Benjamin immediately closed his laptop and gave her his full attention. "Always, sweetheart. What is on your mind?" "Emma from school has a baby brother now," Sophie said. "And she said it is really fun to have a sibling. Do you think we might have another baby someday?" Benjamin felt his heart skip a beat. He and Imani had briefly discussed the possibility of having children together in the future, but they had agreed to wait at least a year to let their family unit solidify. Still, the fact that Sophie was thinking about it was significant. "Would you like to have a brother or sister?" Benjamin asked carefully. Sophie nodded slowly. I think it would be nice. But only if the baby also has Miss Imani as their mommy. I want us all to be together. That makes sense, Benjamin said. Well, that is something Miss Imani and I would need to talk about and decide together. Having a baby is a big decision. But I promise that if and when we are ready for that, we will include you in those conversations. Does that sound fair? Fair? Sophie agreed. Then she paused. Daddy, if you have another baby, will you still love me the same amount? Benjamin's heart broke a little at the vulnerability in her question. He pulled her onto his lap, looking directly into her eyes. Sophie, listen to me very carefully. If we ever have another child, that would not change how much I love you. Not even a tiny bit. Love is not a pie that gets divided into smaller pieces when there are more people. Love grows and expands. Having a brother or sister would not mean less love for you. It would mean more love in our family. Do you understand? Sophie thought about this, then nodded. Like how I love both you and Mommy Rebecca. It is not half and half. It is both all the way. Exactly like that, Benjamin said, impressed by her insight. You are very wise for a 5-year-old. Almost 6, Sophie corrected. My birthday is in 2 months. You are right, Benjamin said. We need to start planning your birthday party. What kind of party do you want? Sophie's face lit up with excitement, and they spent the next hour talking about birthday party ideas. Benjamin made notes on everything Sophie wanted, from the guest list to the cake flavor to the activities. This would be her first birthday with him, and he wanted it to be special. That evening, after Sophie went to bed, Benjamin told Imani about the conversation. She asked about having a sibling, Benjamin said. I told her it was something we would discuss together and that we would include her in those conversations when the time comes. That was perfect, Imani said. And honestly, I have been thinking about it too. Not right away, but maybe in a year or two when Sophie is more settled and secure. I would love to give her a sibling. But only if you want that too. I do, Benjamin admitted. I missed the first 5 years of Sophie's life, and while I can never get those years back, the thought of experiencing a baby from the beginning with you is really appealing. But you are right that we should wait. Sophie needs to be secure in our family first. Agreed, Imani said. Let's revisit this conversation in a year or so. In the meantime, we have a birthday party to plan. Sophie's 6th birthday arrived on a beautiful spring Saturday. They had decided on a small party at their apartment with 6 of Sophie's closest friends from school, plus family. The theme was art party, since Sophie had developed a real passion for drawing and painting. Imani and Benjamin had set up several art stations around the living room. Painting easels, clay modeling, jewelry making, and a giant collaborative canvas where all the kids could paint together. They had hired a local art teacher to lead some of the activities, and the apartment was filled with laughter and creativity. Sophie was radiant in a bright green dress, her hair in 2 braids decorated with ribbons. She moved from station to station, helping her friends and clearly enjoying being the center of attention. When it came time for cake, a beautiful 2-tiered creation decorated with paintbrushes and palettes made of fondant, Sophie made a wish and blew out her 6 candles. Benjamin watched her close her eyes and wish with all her might, wondering what she had wished for. Later, after the party was over and they were cleaning up, Sophie told him. I wish that we could be this happy forever, she said. That nothing bad would ever happen to our family again. Benjamin felt a lump in his throat. That is a beautiful wish, sweetheart. Do you think it will come true? Benjamin chose his words carefully. I think happiness is something we have to choose every day. Some days will be harder than others, and sometimes sad or scary things will happen because that is part of life. But as long as we love each other and stick together, we can handle anything that comes our way. And that is a kind of forever happiness that nobody can take away from us. Sophie seemed satisfied with this answer. She hugged him tight and said, I am glad I found you, Daddy. I am glad I listened to Mommy and came to your terrace that night. I am glad too, sweetheart. You are the best gift I have ever received. The following week, Benjamin received a call from his business partner Thomas. We have had some incredible growth this quarter, Thomas said. And the board wants to do something special to recognize your contributions. They are proposing a significant bonus, plus additional equity in the company. But there is a catch. They want you to take a month off. Completely off. No emails, no calls, no work. They are concerned about burnout and want to make sure you have proper work-life balance. Benjamin was stunned. They want to give me a bonus and time off? Yes, Thomas laughed. I know it sounds backwards, but they have seen how much your family has changed you, how that has translated into better decision-making and more sustainable business practices. They want to support that. So what do you say? Will you take a month off with your family? Benjamin thought about it for approximately 3 seconds. Yes. Absolutely yes. That evening he told Imani and Sophie about the offer. A whole month off? Sophie asked, her eyes wide. What will we do? Anything you want, Benjamin said. We could travel or we could stay here and have adventures in the city. What sounds good to you? Sophie looked thoughtful. Could we do both? Maybe go somewhere special for 2 weeks and then have 2 weeks here doing fun things. I think that is a perfect plan, Imani said. Where should we go for our 2-week trip? They spent the evening looking at travel options together. Sophie wanted to see the ocean, so they settled on a beach resort that was family-friendly and had activities for children. They would leave in 3 weeks, giving them time to prepare. The anticipation made the next few weeks fly by. Sophie had never been on a plane before and was both excited and nervous. Benjamin and Imani spent time preparing her, showing her videos of what to expect and answering all her questions. Finally, the day of their trip arrived. They flew to a beautiful coastal resort, and Sophie's face when she saw the ocean for the first time was something Benjamin would never forget. Her eyes went wide with wonder and she grabbed both their hands. It is so big, she whispered in awe. Mommy told me about the ocean, but I never imagined it would be this big. They spent 2 glorious weeks building sandcastles, swimming in the pool, exploring tide pools, and eating ice cream every single day. Benjamin taught Sophie how to float on her back in the water while Imani took pictures of every moment. They went on a boat trip to see dolphins, and Sophie squealed with delight when the dolphins swam right next to their boat. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the beach, Sophie sitting between them with her feet in the sand, she said quietly, "This is the best day of my whole life." Just today. Benjamin teased gently. Or the whole trip? All of it, Sophie clarified. Every single day with you and bonus mommy is the best day. But this sunset right now is extra special. Why is it extra special? Imani asked. Because we are all together and we are all happy and the sky is so pretty, Sophie said simply. And I can feel Mommy Rebecca here with us too. Dr. Lisa says that people we love are always with us in our hearts, even when we can't see them. And I feel her right now and she is happy too. Benjamin and Imani both had tears in their eyes. They each put an arm around Sophie, and the 3 of them sat together watching the sun sink into the ocean, a family complete and whole. When they returned home from their trip, they spent the remaining 2 weeks doing things around the city. They visited every museum Sophie wanted to see, went to the zoo again, took a cooking class together, and spent entire days doing nothing but watching movies and eating popcorn in their pajamas. On the last day of Benjamin's month off, they had a family meeting in the living room. So, our special month is ending tomorrow, Benjamin said. How do we feel about that? Sad but also okay, Sophie said thoughtfully. Because you will still come home every day, right? This won't change that. Nothing will change that, Benjamin promised. I will still leave work early to pick you up from school. We will still have family dinners every night. The only difference is that I will be working more hours during the day. Then I am okay with it, Sophie said. Because it was really fun to have you home all the time, but I also know you like your job. And Dr. Lisa says it is important for grown-ups to have work that makes them happy. Dr. Lisa is very wise, Imani said, smiling. Can we do another special month next year? Sophie asked hopefully. I think that is an excellent tradition to start, Benjamin agreed. Every year we will take a month to have adventures together. How does that sound? Perfect, Sophie said. Can I go play now? Emma is waiting for me to call her and tell her about the dolphins. Go ahead, Benjamin said, and Sophie ran off to her room. Benjamin turned to Imani, pulling her close. This has been the best month of my life. Thank you for agreeing to this. For taking time off from your work to be with us. Are you kidding? Imani said. I loved every minute of it. Watching you and Sophie together, being part of your adventures, it reminded me why family is the most important thing. My job will always be there, but these moments with Sophie, these memories we are making, they are irreplaceable. You know, Benjamin said thoughtfully, when Sophie first appeared on my terrace, I was terrified. I had no idea how to be a father. I thought my life was over, that everything I had built would fall apart. But instead, everything got better. Sophie didn't ruin my life. She saved it. She showed me what really matters. And what matters? Imani asked, though she already knew the answer. This, Benjamin said simply, gesturing around the apartment. You, Sophie, the life we have built together. Love, laughter, family. That is what matters. The rest is just details. Just details, Imani agreed, kissing him softly. As the sun set on their special month together, Benjamin reflected on how much had changed in the past year. A year ago he had been alone, focused only on work, unaware that he had a daughter who needed him. Now he had everything he never knew he wanted. A daughter who filled his days with joy. A wife who made him want to be a better person. A family that felt like home. And somewhere, he hoped Rebecca Torres was looking down at them, satisfied that her daughter had found the family she deserved. Sophie had kept her promise to her mother. She had found her father. And in doing so, she had given him the greatest gift imaginable. The gift of love, family, and a life worth living. 6 months after their beach vacation, as autumn painted the city in shades of gold and red, Benjamin received news that would add another chapter to their family story. The company had exceeded all projections, and the board had decided to promote Benjamin to executive chairman. The position would give him even more flexibility while still allowing him to guide the company's vision. "This means I can work from home 3 days a week," Benjamin told Imani and Sophie over dinner. "I will have more time for family, more time to be present for all the important moments." "Like my school play next week?" Sophie asked hopefully. She had been cast as a sunflower in the school production, and she had been practicing her one line every single day. "Especially your school play," Benjamin confirmed. "I would not miss it for anything in the world." Sophie's school play came and went, a delightful if chaotic production where half the kids forgot their lines and one of the bees cried through the entire performance. But Sophie delivered her line perfectly. "Even flowers need sunshine to grow." Benjamin and Imani cheered louder than anyone else in the audience, and Sophie beamed with pride. As Christmas approached, their first Christmas as an official family, Sophie came to Benjamin and Imani with a request. "Can we visit Grandma Rosa?" she asked quietly. "Mommy's mother. She is still in the hospital and I want to see her. I want her to know I am okay." Benjamin and Imani exchanged glances. They had kept in touch with Rosa's medical team, sending updates about Sophie and covering her medical expenses. Rosa had recovered somewhat from her stroke but needed ongoing care in a rehabilitation facility. "I think that is a wonderful idea," Benjamin said. "Let me arrange a visit." They went to see Rosa on a cold December Saturday. She was in a comfortable room in a long-term care facility, paid for by Benjamin. When they walked in, Rosa's eyes filled with tears at the sight of Sophie. "Mi pequeña Sophie," she said, her speech still slightly slurred from the stroke but understandable. "You look so healthy. So happy." Sophie ran to her grandmother and hugged her carefully. "Grandma Rosa, I want you to meet my family. This is my daddy, Benjamin, and this is my bonus mommy, Imani. They take good care of me just like mommy wanted." Rosa looked at Benjamin with gratitude shining in her eyes. "Rebecca was right about you. She said you were a good man. Thank you for loving our Sophie. Thank you for helping raise such an amazing little girl," Benjamin said sincerely. "And please know that you are always welcome in Sophie's life. You are her grandmother, part of her family. We want you to be part of her future. And when you are feeling better," Imani added, "we would love for you to come visit us. We have plenty of room and Sophie would love to spend more time with you." Rosa cried happy tears, and Sophie spent the next hour telling her grandmother about school, about her friends, about the beach vacation, and about her new family. Before they left, Benjamin made sure Rosa had his personal number and assured her they would visit again soon. In the car on the way home, Sophie was quiet for a while before speaking. "Thank you for taking me to see Grandma Rosa," she said softly, "and for being nice to her. Some kids at school said their parents don't like their grandparents, but you were really kind." "Your grandmother loves you very much," Imani said. "She helped your mommy take care of you and that makes her special to us too. Family is not just about the people we choose, but also about honoring the connections that matter." Christmas that year was magical. They got a real tree, and Sophie helped decorate it with ornaments that included ones they had made together and a special one with Rebecca's picture that Sophie had chosen. They attended church on Christmas Eve, and Sophie sang with the children's choir. They had Christmas morning at home, just the three of them, opening presents and making a big breakfast together. But the best gift came later that afternoon when they had their extended family over for Christmas dinner. Benjamin's mother Margaret was there, along with Uncle James who had flown in from overseas. Imani's parents and her sister Kendra had driven up from their home state. Thomas and his family came along with a few other close friends. As they all sat around the table, Sophie stood up and clinked her glass with her spoon, clearly having something important to say. "I have an announcement," she said in her most serious 6-year-old voice. "Can everyone listen please?" The room fell quiet, everyone looking at Sophie with warm smiles. "This year has been the best year of my whole life," Sophie began. I found my daddy, I got a bonus mommy, and I learned that families can grow in different ways. Dr. Lisa says that I have been very brave this year, and that Mommy Rebecca would be proud of me. I think she would be proud of all of us. She paused and looked at Benjamin and Imani. I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for loving me, for giving me a home, for helping me remember Mommy while also making new happy memories. You are the best family ever. Benjamin felt tears rolling down his cheeks. Around the table, everyone was similarly moved. But Sophie was not done. And I also wanted to say that I have decided something important. When the name change papers come through and I officially become Sophie Cole, I want my full name to be Sophie Rebecca Cole. Because I want to keep Mommy's name as part of mine. Is that okay? Benjamin had to clear his throat before he could speak. That is more than okay, sweetheart. That is perfect. Sophie Rebecca Cole, Imani said, testing it out. It is beautiful. Just like you. The rest of Christmas dinner was filled with laughter, stories, and love. Uncle James told embarrassing stories about Benjamin as a child. Imani's father shared family recipes. Margaret and Imani's mother bonded over grandchild photos and made plans for future visits. After everyone left and Sophie was tucked into bed, exhausted but happy, Benjamin and Imani sat together on the couch with hot chocolate, looking at their Christmas tree. This is everything I never knew I needed, Benjamin said quietly. Me too, Imani agreed. You know what I realized today? When Sophie gave her speech, she didn't mention being sad or missing what she lost. She focused on what she gained. That shows how far she has come, how secure she finally feels. We did that, Benjamin said. Together. We gave her a safe place to heal and grow. We are pretty good at this parenting thing, Imani said with a smile. We are, Benjamin agreed. Then he paused. You know what? I think we are ready. Ready for what? To talk about expanding our family. To give Sophie that sibling she asked about. Imani set down her hot chocolate and turned to face him fully. Are you sure? That is a big step. I am sure, Benjamin said. Sophie is thriving. Our marriage is strong. We have the support system we need. And I want to experience raising a child with you from the very beginning. I want Sophie to be a big sister. I want to give her what she asked for, a sibling to share her life with. Imani's eyes filled with happy tears. I want that too. I have wanted it for a while but was waiting for the right time. And you are right. This feels like the right time. They talked late into the night about their dreams for expanding their family, about logistics and timing and hopes. When they finally went to bed, they both felt excited about this new chapter. They did not tell Sophie right away. They wanted to make sure they were actually pregnant before getting her hopes up. But 3 months later, on a sunny March afternoon, Imani took a pregnancy test that came back positive. They were going to have a baby. That evening, they sat Sophie down for a family meeting. Sophie, we have some special news to share with you, Benjamin began. Sophie's eyes went wide. What kind of news? The best kind, Imani said, smiling. In about 7 months, you are going to be a big sister. For a moment, Sophie just stared at them, processing the information. Then she let out a squeal of delight that probably could be heard 3 floors down. Really? Really truly? She asked, jumping up and down. Really truly, Benjamin confirmed. There is a baby growing in bonus mommy's belly right now. Sophie launched herself at both of them, hugging them with all her might. This is the best news ever. Can I help pick out the baby's name? Can I help decorate the nursery? Can I teach the baby things? You can help with all of that, Imani assured her. Being a big sister is a very important job, and we are going to need your help. Over the next several months, Sophie threw herself into big sister preparations. She read books about babies, picked out tiny clothes when they went shopping, and talked to Imani's growing belly every single day. Hi baby, she would say each morning. This is your big sister Sophie. I'm going to teach you so many things. I'm going to show you how to paint and how to ride a bike and how to be brave. And I am going to tell you all about our mommy Rebecca, who you will never meet but who would have loved you so much. Benjamin and Imani found out they were having a boy. They decided to name him Ryan Thomas Cole. Ryan after Imani's late grandfather who had been a huge influence on her life, and Thomas after Benjamin's business partner who had become like family to them. Sophie approved of the name enthusiastically. Ryan Cole. That sounds like a nice person. I think I am going to like having a brother. The pregnancy was smooth and uneventful. Imani continued working until her 8th month, then took leave to prepare for the baby. Benjamin adjusted his schedule even further so he could be home more to help with preparations and take care of Sophie and Imani. On a warm October evening just after Sophie's 7th birthday, Imani went into labor. Margaret came over to stay with Sophie while Benjamin took Imani to the hospital. Sophie hugged them both before they left. "Bring home my brother," she said seriously. "I am ready to be a big sister." 12 hours later, Ryan Thomas Cole entered the world, weighing 7 pounds and 2 ounces, with a healthy set of lungs and his father's eyes. Benjamin held his son for the first time and felt the same overwhelming love he had felt when he first accepted Sophie as his daughter. This was his child, his family, his future. When Sophie came to the hospital to meet her brother, escorted by her grandmother Margaret, she walked into the room with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Imani was sitting up in bed, holding Ryan, and Benjamin was beside her. "Come meet your brother," Imani said softly. Sophie approached slowly, her eyes wide. She climbed onto the bed carefully, and Imani adjusted Ryan so Sophie could see him properly. "He is so small," Sophie whispered in awe. "And he has tiny fingers. Would you like to hold him?" Benjamin asked. Sophie nodded, and with careful instruction, they helped her hold Ryan, supporting his head. Sophie looked down at her baby brother with an expression of pure love and wonder. "Hi Ryan," she said softly. "I am your big sister Sophie. I have been waiting to meet you for so long. I promise I am going to be the best big sister ever. I am going to protect you and teach you things and love you forever." Ryan made a small sound, and Sophie gasped with delight. He made a noise. "Did you hear that? He knows I am his sister." Benjamin wrapped his arm around both Sophie and Imani, looking at his family with overwhelming gratitude. A year and a half ago he had been alone. Now he had everything. A daughter who had taught him what unconditional love meant. A wife who had shown him how to build a real family. And now, a son who represented their future together. "We did it," Imani said softly, reading his thoughts. "We built something beautiful." "We sure did," Benjamin agreed. They brought Ryan home 3 days later. Sophie had helped prepare the nursery, which was decorated in soft blues and greens. She had insisted on putting some of her artwork on the walls so Ryan would always have his big sister's art to look at. The first few weeks with a newborn were challenging. Ryan woke up every few hours and everyone was exhausted. But they handled it together, taking turns with night feedings, supporting each other through the hard moments, and celebrating the small victories. Sophie took her role as big sister very seriously. She would sit next to Ryan during feeding times talking to him about her day. She helped pick out his clothes each morning. She sang to him when he cried, often the same lullabies that Rebecca used to sing to her. One evening, about a month after Ryan came home, Benjamin found Sophie sitting in the nursery watching Ryan sleep in his crib. "Hey sweetheart, what are you doing in here?" Benjamin asked softly. "Just watching him," Sophie said. "Making sure he is okay. That is what big sisters do, right?" "That is what big sisters do," Benjamin confirmed, sitting down beside her. "But you also need to sleep and rest. Ryan has me and bonus mommy to watch him at night." "I know," Sophie said. "But I want him to know I am here. I want him to always feel safe." "He is lucky to have you as his big sister," Benjamin said, pulling her into his side. Sophie was quiet for a moment, then said, "Daddy, do you think Mommy Rebecca would be happy about Ryan?" "I think she would be overjoyed," Benjamin said honestly. "She wanted you to have a family, to be surrounded by love. Ryan is part of that family. And you know what? I think she would be so proud of the big sister you are becoming." "I wish she could meet him," Sophie said wistfully. "In a way she does meet him," Benjamin said. "Because you tell Ryan stories about her, just like you tell him stories about all of us. She lives on through your memories and your love. And Ryan will grow up knowing about the brave mommy who made sure you found your family." Sophie seemed comforted by this. She stood up and kissed Ryan's forehead gently. "Good night, baby brother. Your big sister Sophie loves you." As they walked out of the nursery together, Benjamin felt a sense of completeness he had never known before. His family was whole. Not perfect, because no family ever is, but real and honest and filled with love. Over the next few months they settled into their new normal. Sophie started 2nd grade and excelled in all her subjects, especially art. She had a core group of friends and was involved in the school play again, this time with a speaking role as a talking tree. Benjamin's company continued to thrive, and he maintained his work-life balance, always making it home for family dinners and bedtime routines. He had learned that success was not measured in money or status, but in moments. Moments like Sophie's proud smile when she helped her baby brother hold his bottle. Moments like Imani laughing while trying to get spit up out of her hair. Moments like the 4 of them on the couch watching a movie, complete and together. Imani returned to work part-time when Ryan was 4 months old, having found a position that allowed her more flexibility. She still did social work, still helped families in crisis, but she had better boundaries now and took care of herself as well as others. They had settled into a rhythm, a life that worked for all of them. On the one-year anniversary of their wedding, Benjamin and Imani went out to dinner, leaving Sophie and Ryan with Benjamin's mother. At the restaurant, they reminisced about everything that had happened over the past 2 years. "Do you remember the first time you came to my door looking for Sophie?" Benjamin asked. "I do," Imani laughed. "You looked terrified. Absolutely terrified. I was not sure if you were actually Sophie's father or just someone she had randomly chosen." "I was terrified," Benjamin admitted. "I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't most days." "None of us do," Imani said. "We are all just figuring it out as we go. But I think we are doing a pretty good job." "We are," Benjamin agreed. "Sophie is thriving. Ryan is healthy and happy. We are making it work." "More than work," Imani corrected. "We are building something beautiful. This life we have, it is everything I ever wanted but never thought I would find." "Me either," Benjamin said. "I thought success was about building an empire. Turns out it was about building a home." They talked late into the night, making plans for the future. More family trips, maybe another child in a few years, supporting Sophie's dreams whatever they turned out to be, watching Ryan grow. When they got home, Margaret was sitting on the couch with both children asleep on either side of her. Sophie had her arm draped protectively over Ryan, even in sleep. "They are good kids," Margaret whispered, careful not to wake them. "Rebecca would be so proud of Sophie. And you two are doing an amazing job." After Margaret left, Benjamin and Imani stood together, looking at their sleeping children. "This is it," Benjamin said softly. "This is everything." "This is everything," Imani agreed. They carefully moved Sophie to her bed, tucking her in and kissing her forehead. Then they put Ryan in his crib, watching him sleep for a moment before heading to their own room. As Benjamin lay in bed that night, Imani asleep beside him, he thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had started with a little girl on a terrace, soaked from the rain, saying, "Daddy, sorry I am late." Sophie had not been late. She had arrived exactly when she was supposed to, bringing with her a gift beyond measure. The gift of family, of love, of a second chance at life. The gift of home. And in the morning they would wake up and do it all again. Make breakfast, get Sophie ready for school, take care of Ryan, laugh together, navigate challenges together, love each other through every moment. Because that was what families did. They showed up. They chose each other. They built lives filled with ordinary moments that added up to something extraordinary. Sophie had found her daddy. Benjamin had found his daughter. Imani had found her family. And together they had built something beautiful. A home. A family. A life worth living. And as the sun set on that day, painting the sky in shades of red and gold, Sophie slept peacefully in her bed, no longer afraid that morning would not come. Because she knew, deep in her heart, that she was home. She was not late anymore. She was exactly where she belonged.